Ladies and gentlemen, we're starting this film event. We're going to have the Hungarian premiere of the film The Volunteers. It's made by David Richer and Mark Weiner. Mark Weiner is a philosopher and professor emeritus at Rutgers, and David is an investigative journalist. And I'm not going to tell you what we're not going to go into detail about the film right now. We're first going to watch the film, and then we'll have a short panel discussion and a Q&A. Just very generally, this movie is about place. This film is about place. It's about the importance of being rooted in place when it comes to solidarity and patriotism and a sense of the universal. So you reach the universal from the particular. So this is a movie with, so it's a film, it's a documentary film about the mountain rescue services in Austria and Seattle, Washington State. But there's a philosophy behind the movie, and Mark is going to say a few words before we start.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Please, Mark. Oh, could I have an applause for Mark and David?
Listen, on behalf of David and myself, we just want to say thank you so much for having us here at the Danube Institute. We're just delighted to join you all in conversation about a film that I hope will speak to many of your own philosophic interests. And it's a special pleasure, we have to say, to screen in such an extraordinary venue. We have just never been in a place like this. And it's just a special pleasure. Also, special thanks to your catering staff or to the restaurant, I imagine, who's brought these snacks and drinks. They're the very most top-notch snacks we've ever had at a screening, way better than popcorn. So just to amplify what Eric says, the film is you can think of it as a philosophic meditation, a kind of cinematic essay that's nominally about the Mountain Rescue Service, and specifically the Mountain Rescue Service in Tyrol, Austria, and Seattle, Washington. They are connected in surprising ways that were uncovered over the course of making the film. But more deeply, it's a film about the nature of social solidarity and where that social solidarity can most sustainably and fruitfully arise. And for us, as Eric said, it's in a sense of local place. And we made the film with a strong awareness that there's a conflict, I think, across the Western world today between what's been called anywheres and somewheres. And this is a film about people who are somewheres and what being rooted in somewhere can do for civic life generally. We started the film about 4 years ago, and we are excited afterwards to talk to you all about it and to have what we hope will be a wide-ranging conversation. And so with that...
And I need to give a trigger warning before we start. This is a very wholesome film.
We're okay. Americans, after all.
So. Roll the tape.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and could I have a round of applause?
Yeah. Thank you all. Enjoy the show.
Thanks for watching. And we have... It was of course, a longer documentary film, so we just have a few quick questions. I know we're maxing out on the wholesomeness, but here's another wholesome fact. These two gentlemen, they know each other. They have known each other for a long time, and they used to run a magazine together in college in Stanford. And I see this project as a continuation of their long cooperation. So please, David and Mark. Please, you can ask them about the message of the film, the philosophy behind it, or how they made it. Please go ahead. Yes. Let me. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
We are happy to answer any and all questions, or just to sit up here and meditate with you. Go for it.
Stefano, he's a fellow here at the Danube Institute.
Hello. Firstly, congratulations on the film. It was amazing, and thank you for being here. I would like to know, I saw that you chose specifically the Tyrolean team, and
Yes.
I know that Tyrol has a very specific place in the history of mountaineering, but whether this model that we saw in Tyrol is something that is, let's say, regional, exclusive from there, or
Right.
you also see across Austria, and whether there
Yes.
are some differences in how it's done in other regions, or if it's more or less the same. Thank you.
That's a super interesting question. I would say, I mean, generally, we're trying to describe a sensibility and an approach to civic life that grows broadly from all sorts of mountain experience. We have an Azerbaijani in the audience, or was, yeah, exactly, who might be able to confirm that. There's a sensibility that crosses, from the Alps to Azerbaijan to the Cascade Mountains. But within Austria, there tends to be, one of the interesting features of the Austrian Mountain Rescue Service is that it's regionally based as opposed to nationally based. That's partly a historical consequence of the Four Powers occupation after World War II, but I think it has significant civic and even political consequences, and that each mountain rescue team approaches its landscape particular to where it lives. So there's a general cultural particularism that's also reflected in their protocols. So.
I'd say also that there is a difference between how the American groups are connected versus the Austrian.
Thank you. Yes.
That in Austria there seems to be, even if it's not countrywide, a lot more integration between the different groups, and the American groups are much more independent.
Highly
I think they're
decentralized.
working to try to get better connections.
Yes. Yeah. No. Super highly decentralized, and we had thought. In the end, we went to Tyrol because of the strong historic connection to Seattle Mountain Rescue. But there were other mountain rescue organizations within Austria that we had explored possibly rooting the film in, especially in the Salzburg region. And we also went to the Berchtesgaden region in the south of Germany in Bavaria. So, absolutely. I'm interested, what motivates the question? What's your...
Well, two reasons.
Yeah.
Firstly, personal interest in Austrian culture.
Yes.
And, secondly, I myself have Italian origins, and in Italy we have South Tyrol.
Of course.
Which has itself extremely strong sense of regional pride.
Yes.
Which is based on the mountains, but
Yes.
because of them being a German-speaking minority in an Italian-speaking country, it often manifests itself much more differently than what I saw in the film. And
Yes.
you do not have normally in I don't know about mountain rescue, but in cultural associations, in cultural manifestations in South Tyrol, this sense of, let's say, inclusivity, it's quite the opposite. They manifest themselves more as in opposition to the general Italian identity and in proximity to the rest of Tyrol and Austria.
Yeah, that's true. Interestingly, though, there were two South Tyroleans at Yamtal, so you have some South Tyrolean countrymen in the film. Very nice.
I did some hiking in Südtirol, South Tyrolia, so it's in Italy, but German-speaking locals. And I noticed that there was a battle going on the hiking trails between the Italian Italians and the Austrian Italians, so to speak. The battle took the following form. When you greeted another person on the trail, so it's not like a city, right, where you just walk past each other. If you just see one person every half hour somewhere in the mountains, you're gonna greet this person. But you can say "Grüß Gott," or you can say "Buongiorno." So I was very partisan. I was "Grüß Gotting" everyone. But if I hit an Italian, I got some really grumpy "Buongiornos" in return.
They do not take it lightly.
Other thoughts? We're also happy to tell you more about. Oh yeah, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel. I come from another mountains from High Tatras, from the north of Slovakia, because I live there. I come here for a week now. Thank you very much for beautiful movie. We saw a lot of splendid interviews. There were a lot of heart-touching ideas and, of course, gorgeous pictures, especially in the spectacular nature. But we haven't seen a lot of, or we haven't ever. At the very end, there was from a real action, from emergency action, but not so much.
Was it
purpose or
yes.
was it hard to take more, or what was?
No, why? Utterly purposeful. In the sense, in a couple of ways, the film is meant to be countercultural. And in the sense that counter to contemporary kind of consumer society and many contemporary television shows. So, that means there's no one that's murdered. there's no celebrities. And no, 10 great disasters that you have to worry about today. So it was partly that sensibility that made us not want to show either injury and therefore profit needlessly in narrative terms off of someone else's suffering, even if they might have agreed after the fact. But also it's counter to the traditional mountain film, the Berg film, the German Berg film, so that or the contemporary equivalent of these mountain films, like Free Solo or other climbing films. These are great films, don't get us wrong. But we wanted to make something different. We wanted this to be a meditative, philosophical exploration, not about the individual conquering of a mountain, although, again, that's extraordinary, but instead on a group of people who work together as a group, whose focus is on safety, and whose primary path to doing what they do, and the thing that's most important, we think, in what they do, is training. So, yes, that was a very deliberate choice on our part. I don't know if you have other thoughts about that.
My name is Randy Yallows. I live in Paris, but I'm a New Yorker.
Oh!
But I am welcome.
You're kidding.
I'm also a visiting fellow, but for tomorrow's conference.
Nice.
So I said I was going to enjoy your film. But what I like to talk, because we're in a political institution, so how your film transcends all questions of politics, creed, religion, sex, any type of orientation. You're people around a specific mission that brings people together. It doesn't matter what country you're from, whatever orientation you're from, what your ethnicity is, and you can put it in any situation, any place in the world, and this human experience is around one thing, and you don't even feel the difference. Everybody's there, you don't sense any tensions, and this is what can make, I think, makes each community great. And I'm saying this is something which is unbelievable, and I think it's very important to spread the message, because this is what our countries are about. It's the message we need to send to the rest of the people, how people can live together peacefully and have share experiences around important things that you're doing. That's what I think is very key, at least about that. That's in itself is a message.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Maybe I can also amplify that slightly in philosophic terms and provide some framework for how we originally approached exactly this idea. And it was in part, I know this is the Danube Institute, so there may be a number of people here interested in the work of Carl Schmitt. Certainly, I know there are some political philosophers here. And you may know that for Carl Schmitt, the origin of politics as an autonomous domain of human value comparable to like the economic or the aesthetic is the distinction that people make between friends and enemies, or a community makes between friends and enemies. That's a distinction that for Schmidt goes all the way back to the origins of Western philosophy itself in the encounter of Greeks with barbarians. I basically accept that analysis as the origin of what Schmidt calls the political, but I think that both the theory and the practice in our contemporary societies of one side of that political dyad, namely the friend, is underdeveloped. And the film grows partly out of a set of analyses that I had done in writing about how volunteer civic associations, kind of Tocquevillian associations, focus especially on medical response, could create that sense of commonality that you're talking about within our communities. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe needs to be developed amongst our young people and in the future to create some form of unity around specific things.
Yes, and that's why also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You were going to say.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to build off of that. I mean, I think we really intentionally were wanting to show how the mission can surmount all of these differences. But one thing that made this film unique for me is that the film itself has brought these two groups together. So when we began the film, this was sort of theoretical, historical connections that we wanted to tell the story of. But as a result, as we say at the end card, a group from Tyrol traveled over to Seattle, or a group from Seattle traveled to Tyrol last year, and then just a couple months ago, a group from Tyrol traveled to Seattle. And so now there's this exchange between the two groups, and they're close friends, and they say that they immediately understand each other because they're both doing the exact same work. And so it both surmounts the things that normally divide people, and it also brings people together in a new way.
I'd say this is one aspect of the film that we're really most proud of, that the thought a fair amount this is my first film. David's had a career in documentary filmmaking, but of a different variety, more investigative. And I think I've come to realize over the course of making the film that the significance of a documentary lies not only in the cinematic text, the work of art itself, but at least as much, if not more, in the human connections that the film enables to be built, not only through its screening, but through the process of production. And that happened in the course of making our film, so that now these two organizations are really definitively linked, and they're linked around something fundamentally human. And it's that fundamental humanity that we want the film to vindicate and to advance.
Ladies and gentlemen, we witnessed a celebration of place, humanity, trust, community building, outreach. And with that, please give a round of applause to Mark and David. Thank you very much.